I stood in my daughter's kitchen holding the birthday cake I'd baked myself, watching Jennifer's face twist with disgust. "You're a burden, Dad. A burden." The words hit harder than any punch. Her husband Brad smirked from the doorway. "We need you out. Tonight. My 67th birthday. And my only child was throwing me into the street." I'd sold my house 6 months ago to help them buy this place. Lived in their basement. Paid their mortgage. And now, standing there with candles still unlit, I realized I'd made a terrible mistake. My hands started trembling as I set the cake down on their granite countertop. The chocolate frosting had taken me 3 hours to get right. I'd even written "Happy Birthday" to me on top because I knew they'd forgotten. "Why?" The word came out barely above a whisper. Jennifer crossed her arms, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against her designer blouse. "Because you're cramping our style, Dad. You're always underfoot, shuffling around, making noise. It's embarrassing when we have people over." Brad stepped closer, his cologne overpowering in the small space. "We've got important business associates coming tomorrow night. High-level people. We can't have an old man wandering around in his bathrobe, asking what's for dinner." The cruelty in his voice stung. But what hurt worse was the agreement I saw in my daughter's eyes. This wasn't just Brad being Brad. This was Jennifer, the little girl I'd raised alone after her mother died, the girl I'd worked double shifts to put through college. "I paid $60,000 toward your down payment," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I cover your mortgage every month. The utilities, the groceries." Jennifer's laugh was cold. "That was a gift, Dad. You chose to give it to us. Nobody forced you. It doesn't buy you a place here forever." I noticed an envelope on the counter behind her, partially hidden under a stack of mail. The logo caught my eye. Paradise Travel Agency. The same one I'd used to book my honeymoon 35 years ago. I reached past her and picked it up. 3 first-class tickets to Maui. Departure date 4 days away. Total cost printed right there on the confirmation. $15,200. My credit card number was listed at the bottom. "What is this?" I held it up, my hand shaking now, for a different reason. Jennifer snatched it back, but not before I saw the resort name. Grand Wailea. 5-star accommodation. Ocean View Suites. "You said we could use that card for emergencies," she said, her voice defensive now. "Emergencies?" I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app right there, scrolled through 3 months of charges. New living room furniture, $8,000. Diamond earrings from Tiffany, $4,500. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, party of 6, $900. Nordstrom, Restoration Hardware, Whole Foods delivery, Premium Wine Club membership, $32,000 in 3 months. "You've been spending like this while planning to throw me out?" My voice was rising now, years of suppressed hurt finally breaking through. Brad stepped between us, his chest puffed out. "Watch your tone, old man. This is our house." "That I paid for." "A gift?" Jennifer shouted back. "You said it was a gift." Brad's hand was on my shoulder now, pushing me toward the basement stairs. Not gently. His fingers dug into the muscle, and I stumbled backward. "Take your junk and get out," Jennifer said, her voice ice. "We need that basement space anyway. We're putting in a home gym. Peloton, weights, the works." I pulled away from Brad's grip and walked down those basement stairs one last time. My back bedroom. 7 months I'd lived here, sleeping on a twin bed I'd bought at IKEA, keeping my belongings in plastic storage bins because they said I couldn't put nails in the walls. I packed 1 suitcase. Clothes, toiletries, my blood pressure medication, my important documents, the folder I kept in the bottom drawer. Birth certificate, social security card, my late wife's death certificate, the deed to the house I'd sold. As I pulled out that folder, I noticed another one behind it, tucked way in the back where I'd never looked. Manila folder, unmarked. I opened it. Loan applications. 3 of them. Personal loans from different banks. $40,000 total. All approved and dispersed. My signature on every application. Except I'd never signed them. I'd never even seen them. The handwriting was close, but the loops were wrong. The pressure was different. My heart started pounding. I pulled out my phone and took pictures of every page, every forged signature, every bank statement showing the money had been transferred to an account I didn't recognize. Then I found the account statement at the bottom. Joint account, Solomon Carter and Jennifer Morrison. They'd opened a joint account in my name without telling me, forged my signature on loan applications, deposited $40,000, and spent it all. The statement showed purchases at Home Depot, Tesla dealership, Cartier. This wasn't just being ungrateful. This was fraud. Criminal fraud. My daughter had committed a felony against me. I took pictures of everything, my hands shaking so badly I had to brace the phone against the wall. Then I put the folder back exactly where I'd found it and tucked the document folder into my suitcase. When I came back upstairs, they were in the living room, sitting on the new couch I'd apparently paid for through identity theft, drinking wine from crystal glasses I didn't recognize, celebrating. They didn't even look up when I walked past. I left my key on the kitchen counter, next to the birthday cake that would probably end up in the trash. Walked out to my 12-year-old Honda Civic and put my suitcase in the trunk. It was 8:30 at night, cold for October, 48 degrees. I could see my breath. I drove to the Quality Inn, off Route 32. $92 a night. The clerk was a young woman with tired eyes who processed my credit card without comment, handed me a key to room 214. The room smelled like industrial cleaner and old carpet. One queen bed with a comforter that had seen better days. A TV bolted to the dresser. Bathroom the size of a closet. I sat on the edge of the bed and opened my banking app. First, I froze the credit card Jennifer had. The $15,000 Hawaii charge showed as pending. I canceled it. Refund would take 7 to 10 business days. Then I froze the other 2 cards they had access to. Emergency cards, I'd called them. Tools for my daughter to use if she ever needed help. I added fraud alerts to all my accounts, changed every password, set up 2-factor authentication. Then, I looked at the joint account statement again. The $40,000 loan had been deposited 6 weeks ago. It was gone. Every penny spent. I clicked through the transaction history. $10,000 to Tesla of Seattle. $15,000 to a contractor for home renovations. $8,000 to Cartier. The rest scattered across dozens of purchases. They'd stolen $40,000 from me and spent it before I even knew it existed. My chest felt tight. I recognized the warning signs. Stress, anger, my blood pressure spiking. I took my medication, lay back on the cheap pillows, and stared at the water-stained ceiling. My daughter. My only child. The little girl who used to make me breakfast in bed on Father's Day with burned toast and 2 sweet coffee, who cried in my arms when her mother died, who I'd walked down the aisle 3 years ago, tears in my eyes because she looked so much like her mom. That girl had just stolen everything from me, and I had no idea what to do about it. I woke up at 6 in the morning to my phone ringing. The number showed Brad's cell. I answered. Hello? You canceled our vacation? Brad's voice was shaking with rage. Are you out of your mind? Do you have any idea what you've done? I sat up, my back aching from the terrible mattress. I canceled charges on my credit card that I didn't authorize. We had meetings planned in Maui. Business meetings. Jennifer's company was sending clients to meet us there. This was work. Then, her company can pay for it. You spiteful old bastard. His voice dropped lower, more dangerous. We gave you a place to live, and this is how you repay us? You gave me a basement room after I gave you $60,000 and paid your mortgage for 6 months. And apparently, you also forged my signature on loan applications. That's called fraud, Brad. Silence on the other end. Then a laugh. A genuine, amused laugh. Prove it, he said. Your name is on those applications. Your signature. You signed them, old man. You just don't remember. You're getting forgetful in your old age. I have photographs. Of what? Loan documents you signed? Great. That proves nothing except you took out loans. Maybe you spent the money and forgot. Maybe you're getting confused. Happens to people your age. My grip tightened on the phone. The bank will verify the signatures. Good luck with that. Who do you think they're going to believe? The successful young couple with good credit and a stable income? Or the elderly father who's clearly becoming paranoid and unstable? Get help, Solomon. You need it. He hung up. I sat there, phone in my hand, understanding for the first time how thoroughly trapped I was. 2 hours later, there was a knock on my motel room door. I opened it to find 2 police officers standing in the hallway. A man and a woman, both looking uncomfortable. Solomon Carter? The male officer asked. Yes? We need you to come with us to the station. We have some questions about a domestic incident. My stomach dropped. What incident? Your daughter filed a report this morning. She's alleging financial abuse and threats. Says you've been stealing from her and her husband. And when she confronted you, you became violent. The world tilted. That's not true. She's the one who's been stealing from me. The female officer's expression softened slightly. Sir, we're not arresting you. We just need to ask some questions. You can ride with us or follow us in your car. I chose to drive myself, following their patrol car to the police station. My hands shook on the steering wheel the entire way. At the station, they led me to a small interview room. Gray walls, metal table, uncomfortable chairs. A detective joined us 15 minutes later. Older guy, maybe 55, with graying hair and a face that had seen too much. Mr. Carter, I'm Detective Raymond Kowalski. I understand there's been a family dispute? I told him everything. The eviction on my birthday, the credit cards, the forged loan documents. I showed him the photographs on my phone. He looked at them carefully, zooming in on the signatures. These do look questionable, he admitted. But Mr. Carter, this is primarily a civil matter. Family financial disputes usually are. You'd need to pursue this through civil court. What about the forgery? That's criminal. It could be. But you'd need to prove the signatures are forged. That requires handwriting analysis, expert testimony. It's not something we can just determine here. But my daughter filed a police report against me, and you came to investigate that immediately. He had the grace to look uncomfortable. Mr. Carter, your daughter made some serious allegations. She's claiming you've been exhibiting signs of dementia, that you've become paranoid, that you accused her and her husband of stealing when they gently suggested you might need professional care. She says when she tried to talk to you about it, you threatened them, broke dishes, told them you'd burn their house down. That's completely false. I never did any of that. She has evidence. He pulled out a folder, showed me printouts of text messages. They showed my number, sending threatening texts to Jennifer's phone. You're going to regret this. I'll make you pay. You'll be sorry you crossed me. I never sent those. I don't even know how to do that, to make texts look like they came from my number. But I didn't send them. He showed me another document, a voice recording transcript, supposedly my voice, screaming at Jennifer, calling her names, threatening violence. I never said any of those things. Mr. Carter, Detective Kowalski's voice was gentle. Do you remember saying them? Is it possible you were upset and don't recall? No. This is fabricated. She's made all of this up. He closed the folder. Here's what's going to happen. Your daughter has filed for a temporary restraining order. There will be a hearing in 3 days. You'll have a chance to tell your side. But in the meantime, you need to stay at least 500 feet away from her and her husband. No contact whatsoever. No calls, no texts, no emails, no third-party messages. A restraining order? Against me? Violation of the order means immediate arrest. Do you understand? I understood perfectly. Jennifer wasn't just cutting me off. She was building a legal case to destroy my credibility so thoroughly that nobody would believe me about the fraud. If I was painted as a mentally unstable, abusive father, who would listen to my claims? Who would take seriously my accusations of forgery? The police would dismiss me as a confused old man. The banks would side with the young couple. Civil courts would see it as family drama. She'd thought this through. I left the police station in a daze, drove back to the motel, sat in the parking lot, trying to process what was happening. My phone buzzed. My younger brother Daniel, calling from Texas. I'd left him a voicemail last night, desperate for family support. Danny, thank God. I need your help. Sol, what's going on? Jenny called me. My blood ran cold. What did she say? She's really worried about you, man. She says you're not yourself. Getting paranoid, accusing her of things. She thinks you might be developing dementia. Mom had it at 70, remember? Maybe it's starting with you too. Danny, she's lying. She stole from me. She forged loan applications in my name. I have proof. Silence on the other end. Then, carefully, or maybe you took out loans and forgot. It happens, Sol. You're 67. The mind starts playing tricks. My mind is fine. Jenny showed me some of the texts you sent her. They were really aggressive, Sol. Really unlike you. That's not normal. I didn't send those texts. She fabricated them. Sol, listen to yourself. You're saying your daughter is running an elaborate conspiracy against you. Doesn't that sound a little paranoid? I couldn't breathe. My own brother didn't believe me. Maybe you should let Jenny help you, Danny continued. She says she wants to get you evaluated by a doctor, make sure you're okay. That doesn't sound unreasonable. She filed a restraining order against me, Danny. For her safety, Sol. After you threatened her. She's pregnant. Did she tell you? She's scared. She just wants her dad to get help. Pregnant. The word hit me like a hammer. She's pregnant? 10 weeks. She found out last month. She wanted to tell you on your birthday. Make it this big, happy announcement. But you went off on her before she got the chance. I closed my eyes. Of course. Another layer of manipulation. Maybe true, maybe not, but perfectly timed to make her look sympathetic. I have to go, I said. Sol, please. Let her help you. I'll fly up if you need me there. We can figure this out together. Goodbye, Danny. I hung up. Sat in my car. Alone. My daughter had turned my own brother against me. She'd built a perfect web of lies, supported by fabricated evidence, painting me as an unreliable narrator of my own life. That evening, my lawyer Paula Hendricks called. I'd found her online, a family law attorney who handled elder abuse cases. She'd agreed to take my case on a payment plan after I explained I didn't have much money available. Solomon, I've reviewed the documents you sent. The restraining order hearing is in 3 days. Jennifer's attorney has submitted a thick file of evidence. It's all fake. I believe you. But we need to prove it. I'm going to need character witnesses, people who can testify you're mentally competent, not violent, not paranoid. I thought about my friends. Realized I didn't have any close ones anymore. The last few years I'd been so focused on helping Jennifer, being available for her, that I'd let other relationships slide. Retired from my job as an accountant 2 years ago. Didn't stay in touch with former colleagues. My neighbor in my old house had moved away. My poker group disbanded when Frank died, and Lou went into assisted living. I don't know who I'd call, I admitted. Paula was quiet for a moment. That's going to be a problem. Jennifer's attorney has lined up 4 people who'll testify you've seemed forgetful, confused. She's been building this case for a while. How long? Based on the dates on these statements? At least 3 months. Since July. Right after I'd sold my house and moved in with her. She'd been planning this from the beginning. What do I do? Come to my office tomorrow. We'll prepare your testimony, go over the evidence. Handwriting analysis on the loan documents will take time, but we can get that started. If we can prove forgery, the entire house of cards collapses. I agreed and hung up. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay in that uncomfortable motel bed, watching shadows from passing cars slide across the ceiling. Thinking about Jennifer as a little girl. 5 years old, gap-toothed, bringing me drawings from kindergarten. This is you and me, Daddy. Stick figures holding hands under a crooked sundae. Where had that child gone? The restraining order hearing was held in a small courtroom that smelled like old wood and anxiety. I arrived with Paula at 8:45 in the morning. Jennifer and Brad were already there, sitting with their attorney Marcus Webb, a man in an expensive suit who looked like he ate public defenders for breakfast. Jennifer wore a conservative navy dress, minimal makeup, her hair pulled back simply. She looked younger than her 32 years, vulnerable. One hand rested on her stomach in a gesture I recognized as calculated. Brad wore a suit too, his arm around Jennifer's shoulders protectively. They'd dressed for the part. The judge was a woman, in her 50s, named Barbara Thornton. She had a reputation for being fair but no nonsense. The hearing began. Marcus Webb stood and addressed the court with the confidence of someone who knew he held all the cards. Your Honor, my client Jennifer Morrison is here today with a heavy heart. She loves her father deeply. But over the past several months, Solomon Carter has exhibited increasingly concerning behavior that has culminated in threats of violence against my client and her husband. He submitted the evidence, the text messages, the voice recording, statements from 4 people who claimed I'd seemed confused at social gatherings, a statement from my former employer, carefully worded to suggest I'd retired due to performance issues rather than voluntarily. Then he called Jennifer to testify. She took the stand, one hand on the Bible, swearing to tell the truth. I watched her lie with the face of an angel. My father started changing about 6 months ago, she said, her voice soft, occasionally catching with emotion. He became paranoid, accused me and Brad of plotting against him. He'd forget conversations we'd had, then claim we were lying about what was said. He'd leave the stove on, forget to lock doors. I was worried. Did you discuss these concerns with him? Marcus asked. I tried. Gently. I suggested maybe he should see a doctor, just to check. He exploded, screamed at me, told me I was trying to put him in a home to steal his money. And the night of his birthday? Her eyes filled with tears. I'd planned this beautiful dinner, invited his brother on video chat. But Dad was agitated all day. He kept accusing us of stealing from him, said we'd forged documents. When I tried to calm him down, he grabbed a plate and threw it. It shattered against the wall next to Brad's head. I was terrified. None of this happened. I told him he needed to leave until he calmed down. I was scared for my safety, for my baby's safety. She touched her stomach again. Brad testified next, showed the bruise on his arm, claimed I'd pushed him down the basement stairs, described me as increasingly erratic and dangerous. Marcus submitted Dr. Lawrence Bennett's preliminary assessment, completed after interviewing Jennifer. It suggested possible early-onset dementia, recommended full psychiatric evaluation. Then it was Paula's turn. She cross-examined Jennifer, asked about the financial records, the $60,000 I'd contributed, the mortgage payments, the credit card charges. Jennifer's lawyer objected repeatedly, irrelevant to the question of whether Mr. Carter poses a danger. But Paula was persistent. She showed the loan documents, pointed out the signature irregularities. Mrs. Morrison, did you forge your father's signature on these loan applications? No. My father applied for those loans himself. He seems to have forgotten. He has photographs showing these documents were hidden in his belongings without his knowledge. He must have put them there and forgotten. That's consistent with cognitive decline. Paula introduced the recording of Brad's phone call to me, his aggressive tone, his dismissive attitude, argued that if anyone had been threatening, it was Brad. But Marcus had a response for everything. Brad was defensive because he was protecting his pregnant wife from her increasingly unstable father. The loan documents bore my signature. End of story. The credit card charges were authorized. I'd given Jennifer the card. Judge Thornton listened to it all, her expression unreadable. Then Paula called me to testify. I walked to the stand, very aware of how I must look. 67 years old, gray hair thinning on top, slight tremor in my hands from stress. Cheap suit from Men's Warehouse that didn't quite fit right anymore. I told my story, calmly, clearly. The birthday cake, the sudden eviction, the discovery of the fraud. I explained I'd never sent those texts, never threatened anyone, never threw any dishes. Mr. Carter, Marcus Webb said when it was his turn to cross-examine, do you remember what you had for breakfast this morning? Oatmeal. At the motel. What day is it? Tuesday, November 7th. Who's the president? I answered. He asked more questions, basic competency tests. I answered them all correctly, but then he shifted tactics. Mr. Carter, isn't it true that you're angry at your daughter for suggesting you need help? I'm angry that she stole from me. Or you're angry that she pointed out you're having memory problems, and rather than face that reality, you've constructed an elaborate conspiracy theory? It's not a conspiracy theory. The evidence is real. Evidence that could have multiple interpretations. Isn't it possible you took out those loans and forgot? That you authorized those credit card charges and don't remember? That in your confusion and fear about your declining faculties, you've turned on the daughter who's trying to help you? No, that's not what happened. Your Honor, Marcus said, turning to the judge, my client simply wants her father to get the help he needs. She's not trying to hurt him. She's trying to protect him, and protect her unborn child from what has become an increasingly volatile situation. Paula did her best in rebuttal, presented the evidence of forgery, argued that Jennifer's claims were fabrications designed to cover financial exploitation. But I could see it in Judge Thornton's eyes. She saw an old man whose mind might be failing, unable to accept his own decline, a pregnant daughter trying to do the right thing. As I sat there, watching my credibility crumble, my chest began to tighten. Pain, sharp, radiating down my left arm. Not now. Please not now. I tried to breathe through it, but it got worse. The courtroom started to blur. Your Honor? Paula's voice sounded distant. My client appears to be in distress. I tried to stand, to say I was fine, but my legs wouldn't hold me. The last thing I remember was hitting the floor, and Jennifer screaming, "Daddy!" Then nothing. I woke up in a hospital bed. White ceiling, beeping monitors, oxygen tube in my nose, my chest ached, a deep bone bruise kind of pain. A nurse noticed I was awake. Mr. Carter, can you hear me? What happened? You had a heart attack. Moderate severity. You're in the cardiac ICU at St. Michael's Hospital. Paula appeared in the doorway, relief flooding her face when she saw me conscious. Solomon. Thank God. The hearing? Postponed. But Solomon, there's a problem. She came closer, lowered her voice. Jennifer's attorney is filing for emergency conservatorship. They're arguing that your heart attack proves you can't care for yourself, that you're too ill to make sound decisions. They want Jennifer appointed as your conservator. The beeping on the monitor increased. Paula put a hand on my arm. Calm down. We'll fight it. But if she gets conservatorship, she'll have legal control over your finances, your medical decisions, everything. When's the hearing? 7 days. You need to be stable enough to attend, and you need to prove you're competent despite this health crisis. Solomon, I have to be honest. This doesn't look good. A confused elderly man has a stress-induced heart attack in court while fighting with his daughter over money. That's the narrative they're building. I closed my eyes. They'd done it. Pushed me until I broke, then used my breaking as proof I was broken. The doctor came in an hour later. Dr. Sarah Patel, cardiologist, early 40s, competent manner. Mr. Carter, you've had what we call a moderate myocardial infarction. One of your coronary arteries is significantly blocked. You're going to need surgery. Triple bypass. But we can't do it until you're more stable. Right now, your blood pressure is dangerously high. Your stress levels are through the roof. We need to get you calm and regulated first. How long? At least 2 weeks. Maybe 3. I don't have 3 weeks. I have a court hearing in 7 days. She frowned. Mr. Carter, you need to prioritize your health. Court cases can wait. This one can't. That night, alone in my hospital room, I stared at the ceiling and wondered how much more I could take. My daughter was systematically destroying me, using the very stress she'd caused as evidence of my incompetence. A nurse came in to check my vitals. Older woman, maybe 60, with kind eyes. You doing okay, honey? Not really. She adjusted my pillow, checked my IV. I saw your son-in-law earlier, in the waiting room, on his phone. I looked at her. He was laughing, talking to someone about the old man finally breaking down. Said something about how it all worked out perfectly. She met my eyes. I've been a nurse for 38 years. I've seen a lot of family dynamics, and I've seen elder abuse more times than I can count. Whatever's happening with you and your daughter, trust your gut. If you think she's hurting you, she probably is. She patted my hand and left. I lay there, her words echoing in my head. They'd wanted this. They'd pushed me toward this heart attack, maybe not consciously, but they hadn't minded when it happened. Because now they could use it. The conservatorship hearing was in 7 days, and I had no idea how to stop them from taking everything. I spent 5 days in the hospital, recovering enough for the doctors to let me transfer to a regular room, physical therapy to get my strength back, medications to stabilize my heart rhythm and blood pressure, a cardiac nutritionist, explaining a diet I needed to follow. My brother Danny called. I saw his name on the caller ID and almost didn't answer. Soul, how are you feeling? Like I had a heart attack. Jenny told me. She's really worried about you. I laughed, a bitter sound that hurt my chest. I'm sure she is. She says, you need help, more help than she can give. She's found this great assisted living place where you'd get round-the-clock care. Said she'd help pay for it. With my money. Silence. Then Danny sighed. Saul, I love you, but I think you're not seeing this clearly. Jenny is trying to help. She's pregnant, stressed, dealing with a father who won't accept he needs support. Maybe, if you just let her arrange for some care, you could rebuild your relationship. She stole from me, Danny. She forged my signature on loan documents. She filed false police reports. She's trying to get conservatorship so she can control everything I have. Or she's trying to get legal authority to help you, since you won't let her do it voluntarily. Soul, from where I'm standing, it looks like she's a daughter who's terrified her dad is declining and won't admit it. I realized then that I'd lost him. Jennifer had gotten to him first, shaped the narrative, and Danny was too far away to see the truth. I need to go, I said. Saul, wait. She told me something else. She says you were planning to come after her legally, before all this happened. That you'd been researching elder abuse lawyers, looking up information about filing fraud charges. She found it in your browser history. My blood ran cold. That was true. I had been researching, back in September, when I'd first started feeling like something was off in their treatment of me, before I'd found the loan documents, before everything exploded. But Jennifer had known. She'd been monitoring my computer use. She'd seen what I was looking at and accelerated her plans. That's why she did all this, I said quietly. She knew I was onto her. Or she saw you becoming paranoid and tried to protect herself. Saul, please, let her help you. For your health, for your future, for that grandchild you're about to have. I hung up without saying goodbye. Paula visited that afternoon with more bad news. Jennifer's legal team has been thorough. They've contacted old friends of yours, former coworkers, even your old neighbors. They've gotten statements from people saying you seemed forgetful at gatherings, that you'd repeat yourself, that you'd forget names. Everyone forgets names sometimes. I know, but they're building a pattern. Your former employer's statement is particularly damaging. They implied you were asked to retire due to errors in your work. I retired voluntarily, after 42 years of good service. I believe you, but the statement is vague enough that it can be interpreted either way. Paula sat down, looking tired. The conservatorship hearing is tomorrow. You're being discharged today. You'll need to come to court, appear competent, testify clearly. But Solomon, you've lost weight, you look frail, you're using a walker. The optics are not good. What do I do? Tell the truth. Hope the judge sees through this. And pray we can prove the forgery before it's too late. She hesitated. There's one more thing. I've been researching Jennifer and Brad's finances. Brad works for a real estate development company owned by a man named Derek Manning. Manning is under federal investigation for fraud. If Brad's involved in that, if the loan money somehow connects to Manning's schemes, that could help us. How? Because it would prove their motivation was more than just greed. It would show they were desperate for money to cover their own bad investments. It was a thin hope, but it was something. I was discharged that evening. Paula had arranged for me to stay at a different motel, farther from Jennifer's house to avoid any restraining order violations. Budget suites on the south side of town. $105 a night. I checked in, barely able to carry my small bag. My whole body felt weak, exhausted. The clerk gave me a room on the first floor, close to the office, at Paula's request. The room was worse than the last one. Smaller, older, a smell of mildew that no amount of air freshener could hide. But it had a bed, and that was enough. I couldn't sleep. Lay there, thinking about the hearing tomorrow, about what Jennifer would say, about the judge's face when she'd looked at me in that courtroom before my heart attack. Pity. That's what I'd seen. Pity for the confused old man. At 2 a.m, unable to lie still anymore, I got up and walked. Used the walker Paula had gotten from the hospital. Shuffled down the motel hallway to the lobby. The night clerk was watching TV behind the desk. Glanced up, nodded at me, went back to his show. I went outside. The night was cold, 43 degrees. I could see my breath. The parking lot was mostly empty, just a few cars, including my Honda, and a black SUV, parked near the side of the building. Engine running. As I watched, Brad got out. I froze. He saw me, smiled, walked over. You're looking rough, Solomon. Heart attack really did a number on you. What are you doing here? Just checking in. Making sure you're comfortable. He looked around at the rundown motel. Nice place. Big step down from your old house, which Jenny and I are enjoying, by the way. Thanks for that down payment. You need to leave. Or what? You'll call the cops? Tell them I'm violating your restraining order? Except you're the one with the restraining order against you, not me. I can go wherever I want. He stepped closer. I gripped the walker, acutely aware of how vulnerable I was. You think you're smart, old man? That laptop you had, we went through the browser history. Saw you were researching lawyers, looking up fraud charges, planning to come after us. That's when Jenny knew we had to move fast. You're confessing. To what? Nothing. Because you're a senile old man who's paranoid and unstable. That's what everyone believes now. Even your own brother. He leaned in close. Jenny's pregnancy is real. We're having a boy. Your grandson. And you're never going to meet him. We'll make sure of that. We'll tell him his grandfather was crazy, dangerous. That we had to cut him off for everyone's safety. My hands were shaking on the walker. And this dump? Brad gestured at the motel. You're going to die here, or in whatever nursing home we park you in after tomorrow's hearing. Alone, while Jenny and I spend every penny you ever made. The Hawaii trip? We rebooked it. For next month. Using the insurance payout from your heart attack claim. Turns out you had a life insurance policy we could access with conservatorship powers. $25,000 for medical expenses. We're calling it medical care. Just very expensive medical care on a beach in Maui. He smiled, patted my shoulder hard enough that I stumbled. Thanks for everything, Pops. Really, you were a great cash cow. He walked back to his SUV, got in, drove away. I stood there, shaking with rage and fear, and something else. Clarity. They'd made a mistake. They'd gotten cocky. Brad had just confessed everything, and he'd done it because he didn't think it mattered. Didn't think I could do anything about it. He was wrong. I went back to my room, pulled out my phone, sent a text to Paula. They're using my life insurance payout for their vacation. Conservatorship fraud. Find out if that's illegal. She texted back 3 minutes later. It is. But we need proof. Recording? Witness? I had neither. But the conservatorship hearing was tomorrow. And I was going to walk into that courtroom and fight like hell, because I had nothing left to lose. The hearing was at 9 a.m. Paula picked me up at 8:15. She had coffee and a bagel for me, which I couldn't eat. My stomach was in knots. How do you feel? She asked. Terrified. Angry. Determined. Good. Use that. But Solomon, stay calm on the stand. Don't let them provoke you. That's what they want. Any outburst, any show of emotion, they'll use it as evidence you're unstable. We arrived at the courthouse at 8:40. Jennifer and Brad were already there with Marcus Webb. Jennifer looked beautiful, radiant even. in a pale pink maternity dress. Brad wore another expensive suit, his arm around her. The perfect young couple. Judge Thornton took the bench at 9 sharp. The courtroom was small, just a few people in the gallery. A court reporter, Paula and me at one table, Marcus, Jennifer, and Brad at the other. "We're here," Judge Thornton began, "for a hearing on an emergency petition for conservatorship. Miss Morrison is seeking to be appointed conservator over her father, Solomon Carter, citing concerns about his ability to manage his own affairs. Mr. Carter opposes this petition. We'll hear testimony from both sides." Marcus stood. "Your Honor, I'll be brief. Mr. Solomon Carter, age 67, has exhibited clear signs of cognitive decline over the past 6 months. He's become paranoid, accusatory, and unable to manage his finances responsibly. His daughter, Jennifer Morrison, has tried to help him voluntarily, but he's refused all assistance. When confronted about his behavior, Mr. Carter became so agitated that he suffered a heart attack in this very courtroom. He now requires significant medical care, including heart surgery, which he's unable to arrange for himself. He submitted Dr. Lawrence Bennett's evaluation, the one claiming I was incompetent. Dr. Bennett conducted a thorough psychiatric evaluation of Mr. Carter at the request of Miss Morrison. His findings are clear. Mr. Carter is experiencing cognitive decline, likely early-stage dementia. He exhibits paranoid delusions, particularly regarding his daughter, whom he accuses of elaborate financial fraud with no basis in fact. Dr. Bennett recommends conservatorship to ensure Mr. Carter receives appropriate care and doesn't harm himself or others through poor decision-making." Paula stood. "Your Honor, we dispute Dr. Bennett's evaluation. We have reason to believe it was biased and predetermined to reach a specific conclusion. We have audio recordings of the evaluation session that showed Dr. Bennett asked leading questions and mischaracterized Mr. Carter's responses." "Objection," Marcus said smoothly. "That recording was made without Dr. Bennett's knowledge or consent. It's inadmissible." "Actually," Paula said, "it was recorded by a third party who was legally present in the building and will testify that Dr. Bennett's evaluation was conducted inappropriately." Judge Thornton frowned. "I'll allow the recording for now, subject to authentication." Paula played it. The audio quality was poor, muffled, but you could hear Dr. Bennett's questions and my responses. You could hear him twist my words, write paranoid delusions, when I'd simply stated facts about financial irregularities. When it ended, the judge looked troubled. "Dr. Bennett's evaluation is certainly concerning," she said. "But this recording doesn't necessarily invalidate his clinical judgment." Marcus called Jennifer to testify. She took the stand, placed her hand on her belly in that now familiar gesture. "Mrs. Morrison, please describe your father's recent behavior." "He's not himself anymore," she said softly. 6 months ago, he was sharp, capable. But gradually, he started forgetting things, conversations, appointments. He'd accuse Brad and me of things that never happened. He became convinced we were stealing from him, even though he'd voluntarily given us money and access to his credit cards. And what happened on his birthday? I'd planned a celebration, but Dad was agitated all day. He kept accusing us, getting angrier and angrier. Finally, he became violent, threw dishes, pushed Brad. We asked him to leave for everyone's safety. I never wanted to kick him out. I just wanted him to calm down. And since then, he filed false fraud charges, canceled our vacation that he'd approved, refuses to see doctors. Then he had a heart attack because he's so stressed from his own paranoia. I'm terrified he's going to die, because he won't accept help." She was crying now, real tears. "I just want my dad back," she said. "I want him to get the care he needs so he can meet his grandson, so we can be a family again." It was a masterful performance. Marcus submitted financial records, showing I'd given them the $60,000 down payment voluntarily. The loan applications with signatures that looked enough like mine to be plausible. Credit card statements showing charges I'd allegedly authorized. Then Paula called me to testify. I walked to the stand with my walker, feeling every eye in the courtroom on me. I looked old. I looked sick. I looked exactly like someone who might need a conservator. But I was going to fight anyway. Paula asked me to explain what happened. I told the story chronologically, calmly. The birthday eviction, the discovery of the forged loan documents, the credit card fraud, the fabricated police reports. "Mr. Carter," Paula asked, "did you ever threaten your daughter?" "Never." "Did you throw dishes or push your son-in-law?" "No, none of that happened." "Did you authorize the credit card charges for the Hawaii vacation?" "No. I'd given Jennifer that card for emergencies only." A $15,000 vacation is not an emergency. Marcus cross-examined. Mr. Carter, you're claiming your daughter fabricated an elaborate scheme to defraud you. Doesn't that seem unlikely? It's what happened. Or is it possible that you're experiencing confusion? That you gave permissions you don't remember? That your daughter is trying to help you, and you've reacted with paranoia? No. I know what happened. You had a heart attack during court proceedings. Doesn't that suggest you're under extreme stress from your own unfounded beliefs? I'm under stress because my daughter is stealing from me, and no one believes me. Mr. Carter, can you tell me what day it is? Thursday, November 16th. Who's the president? I answered. He continued with basic competency questions. I answered them all correctly. But then he shifted. Mr. Carter, you've lost 12 pounds in the last 2 weeks. You're using a walker. You're on 6 different medications. You have major surgery scheduled in 10 days. How do you plan to manage all of that without help? I'll manage. Will you? Can you even drive yourself to medical appointments in your current condition? I'll figure it out. That's not a plan, Mr. Carter. That's denial. My client is offering to help you, to ensure you get the care you need, to pay for a quality assisted living facility where you'll be safe and monitored. Why won't you accept that help? Because it's not help. It's control. She wants access to my remaining assets so she can drain them the way she's drained everything else. Or she wants to keep you alive and healthy, and you're too proud and confused to see that. Paula objected, but the damage was done. The judge called a 15-minute recess. Paula and I sat in the hallway. We're losing, I said. Not yet. I have one more witness. Who? Someone I found yesterday. Be ready. When we reconvened, Paula called her witness. An elderly man I'd never seen before walked to the stand. He was maybe 75, thin, sharp-eyed. Please state your name for the record. Ralph Dennison. Mr. Dennison, where do you currently reside? Whispering Pines Senior Care Facility. My heart started pounding. And how long have you been there? 3 years. My son put me there after getting conservatorship. He's stolen about $200,000 from me since then. Marcus objected. Your Honor, this witness's personal situation is irrelevant. It's relevant to show a pattern, Paula said, and to warn this court about what can happen when conservatorships are granted to family members who are motivated by financial gain rather than genuine care. Judge Thornton allowed it. Ralph testified about his experience. How his son had gotten conservatorship claiming Ralph had dementia. How the son had immediately sold Ralph's house, moved him into a substandard facility, and systematically drained his accounts. How Ralph was now trapped, unable to fight back legally, forgotten by everyone. I've met 15 other seniors in similar situations, Ralph said. This is an epidemic, and I'm telling you, I see the same pattern here. That young woman isn't trying to help her father. She's trying to control his money. It was powerful testimony. But Marcus was ready. Mr. Dennison, weren't you diagnosed with paranoid personality disorder in 2009? Ralph paled. And haven't you filed 17 lawsuits against various family members over the years, all claiming theft, all dismissed as frivolous? That's because the system is rigged. Or because you have a documented history of unfounded accusations. No further questions. Paula tried to rehabilitate the testimony, but the damage was done. Ralph looked like exactly what Marcus had painted him as, a paranoid old man seeing conspiracies everywhere. We rested our case. Judge Thornton reviewed the documents, looked at both sides, and finally spoke. This is a difficult case. Mr. Carter is clearly experiencing health issues. He's had a heart attack, he needs surgery, he requires significant medical care. The question is whether he's capable of managing that care himself. She looked at me. Mr. Carter, I've listened to your testimony. You seem competent in many ways, but I'm concerned about your ability to care for yourself in your current physical state. I'm also concerned about the level of conflict between you and your daughter. That level of stress isn't healthy for someone in your condition. My stomach dropped. However, I'm also troubled by some of the evidence presented by Miss Morrison. The forged signature claims deserve investigation. Dr. Bennett's evaluation seems potentially biased, and Mr. Dennison's testimony, while concerning, does highlight real issues with conservatorship abuse. She paused. I'm going to grant temporary conservatorship for 60 days, subject to strict oversight. Miss Morrison, you will not have free access to your father's assets. You'll need court approval for any expenditure over $500. You'll submit monthly accounting reports. Mr. Carter will undergo an independent psychiatric evaluation by a doctor chosen by the court, not by either party. If that evaluation shows he's competent, this conservatorship will be dissolved. If it shows he's not, we'll consider making it permanent. She banged the gavel. I'd lost. Not completely, but enough. Jennifer had 60 days of control over my life. Paula put a hand on my arm. We'll fight this. The independent evaluation will clear you. 60 days, Solomon. You can survive 60 days. But as I watched Jennifer and Brad leave the courtroom, smiling, whispering to each other, I wondered if I could. 2 days later, Jennifer had me transferred to Whispering Pines Senior Care Facility, the place Ralph Dennison lived, the place where forgotten seniors went to die. Whispering Pines wasn't the nice facility Jennifer had described in court. It was a 2-story building on the edge of town, surrounded by a chain-link fence. The paint was peeling, the lawn overgrown with weeds. Inside smelled like disinfectant, failing to mask other odors. Jennifer signed the admission paperwork with an administrator who barely looked at me. A young guy, maybe 30, with slick back hair and a cheap suit. Arnold Price, according to his name tag. We'll take good care of your father, Arnold said. I'll be checking in regularly, Jennifer replied, all sweetness and concern. She didn't check in. That was the last time I saw her for 3 weeks. They assigned me a room on the first floor, 10 feet by 12 feet, a single bed with a thin mattress, a small dresser, a bathroom I shared with the room next door. The walls were dingy beige, water-stained in the corners. A staff member, Carla, showed me around. She was kind, but exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. Dinner's at 5, she said. Breakfast at 7. Medications at 8, noon, and 6. Activity room is down the hall, but it's usually locked. We're short-staffed. She left me alone in that tiny room. I sat on the bed. My wallet, phone, and laptop had been confiscated for my safety. I was allowed supervised phone calls only, with staff approval. When I asked to call Paula, my lawyer, the staff said Jennifer had left instructions that no legal calls were permitted because they upset me. I was trapped. That first night, I couldn't sleep. The place was noisy. People crying out in other rooms. Staff arguing in the hallway. The heat barely worked. I lay under a thin blanket, shivering, wondering how my life had come to this. Around 10, I heard a knock on the connecting bathroom door. You awake? A man's voice. Yes, I'm Ralph. From the hearing. I testified for you. I opened the bathroom door. Ralph stood there in faded pajamas, looking older and thinner than he had in court. You're here, I said. Welcome to hell. He came into my room, sat on the edge of my bed. How long did she get? 60 days temporary conservatorship. That's how it starts. Temporary becomes permanent. You'll see. He looked around my room. This is actually one of the better rooms. Some of the guys upstairs don't even have their own bathroom. How do you survive here? You make friends. You fight. You don't give up. He pulled a small tablet from his pajama pocket. Contraband. Against facility rules. But I've been documenting everything. The neglect. The understaffing. The residents who've been abandoned here. I've been hoping someone would care enough to do something about it. Can I use it to contact my lawyer? Carefully. They check rooms randomly. But yes. Over the next few days, I met other residents. Ralph introduced me to Martha, a woman in her 70s who'd been a nurse before her grandson got conservatorship and stuck her here after draining her inheritance. Eugene, 82, former lawyer, whose daughter had done the same thing. There's a dozen of us, Ralph said. All victims of conservatorship abuse, all dumped here and forgotten. Why doesn't someone investigate? Eugene laughed bitterly. Who's going to listen to a bunch of senile old people? But they weren't senile. They were sharp, aware, trapped. We started meeting in Ralph's room at night, planning, using Ralph's hidden tablet to research, to document, to fight back. I emailed Paula from Ralph's account. She responded quickly. Solomon, I've been trying to reach you. Your calls are being blocked. This is illegal. I'm filing a motion. But the independent psychiatric evaluation is scheduled for 3 days from now. That's your chance. Pass that evaluation, and the conservatorship dissolves. Ralph helped me prepare. We practiced the questions a psychiatrist might ask. Martha taught me breathing exercises to manage stress so my blood pressure didn't spike. Eugene explained legal strategies. They're going to try to rattle you, Eugene said. Ask questions designed to make you look paranoid. The key is to answer calmly, factually. Don't get emotional. Don't accuse. Just state what happened, as if you're reporting the news. On the 6th day, I discovered something else using Ralph's tablet. Jennifer had started a crowdfunding campaign. Help me care for my ailing father. It featured a photo of me from the hospital, looking frail and vulnerable. Her description was heartbreaking. A devoted daughter, struggling to afford proper care for her father with dementia. She'd raised $14,300 from strangers who thought they were helping. All the money had gone into her personal account. More fraud. I took screenshots. Ralph emailed them to Paula. "This is good," Paula wrote back. "If we can prove she's profiting from the conservatorship inappropriately, it strengthens our case. Keep documenting." Then, on the 8th day, I had an unexpected visitor. Brad. He came to my room, asked the staff for privacy. They gave it to him, closing the door behind them. He sat down in the room's only chair, looked around with disgust. "Not exactly the Ritz, is it? What do you want?" "Just checking in." He leaned forward. "You know that laptop we took from you? We went through the browser history, saw you were researching lawyers, looking up fraud charges. You were planning to come after us even before we kicked you out. You stole from me. We borrowed, with every intention of paying you back. But then you got paranoid, accusatory, forced our hand. You forged my signature. Prove it. Your name's on those documents. Your signature. Maybe a little shaky, but that's age. No court's going to convict us based on a handwriting analysis that might show a few inconsistencies." He stood, paced the small room. "Jennifer's pregnancy is real, by the way. We're having a boy, due in June. Your grandson. Thought you'd want to know." My throat tightened. I want to be part of his life. "Then drop the legal fight. Accept the conservatorship. Let us help you. We'll move you to a nicer place. Make sure you get your surgery. Set up supervised visits with the baby. We can be a family again, as long as I give you control of my money. As long as you stop fighting us. Sol, you're making this harder than it needs to be. We're not bad people. We just need some financial help right now. Brad's business partner, Derek, got us into some investments that went south. We're in debt. The loan money helped, but we need more time to recover. If you'd just trust us, let us use your assets temporarily. We'll pay you back when things stabilize." "How much debt?" $120,000. Maybe more. Derek's scheme is collapsing. Federal investigators are circling. If it blows up, it's going to take us down too unless we can cover our exposure. He was admitting everything. Desperation making him reckless. "So you're stealing from me to cover your bad investments. We're using family resources during a family crisis. That's what family does. Family doesn't forge documents and file false police reports." Brad's expression hardened. "No? Well, family also doesn't fight back when they're clearly losing. You're in a nursing home, Sol. You've had a heart attack. You need surgery. You have no friends. Your brother thinks you're crazy, and your own lawyer can barely afford to keep representing you. You've got nothing. We've got everything." He stood, walked to the door, turned back. "And the Hawaii vacation? We rebooked it for next month, using the insurance payout from your heart attack claim. That policy you had, the one for medical expenses, $25,000. Jennifer used her conservatorship powers to file the claim and redirect the payout. We're calling it medical care costs. Very expensive medical care. On a beach in Maui." He smiled. "Thanks for everything, Pops. You were a great investment." The door closed behind him. But Ralph had been in the bathroom, ear pressed to the door, holding his tablet up to the crack. He'd recorded everything, every word. I sat on my bed, shaking with a mixture of rage and hope. "I got it all," Ralph said, coming through the bathroom door. Clear audio, his confession, the fraud, the insurance scam, everything. I took the tablet, listened to the recording. It was perfect. "Email it to Paula," I said. "Right now." He did. Paula's response came 10 minutes later. "This is it. This is the evidence we need. I'm sharing it with the federal investigators looking into Derek Manning, and I'm filing an emergency motion to dissolve the conservatorship. The evaluation is tomorrow. With this recording, and your performance on that evaluation, we can end this." That night, none of us slept. Ralph, Martha, Eugene, and I stayed up in Ralph's room, using his tablet to research, to plan. Paula had sent more information. The federal investigation into Derek Manning's real estate fraud had been ongoing for 18 months. They'd been building a case, tracking money, identifying victims. 17 elderly investors had lost a combined $3 million in Manning's scheme. The $40,000 loan taken in my name had been invested in Manning's company. It was gone. Part of the fraud. If Paula could prove Jennifer and Brad knew about Manning's fraud, knew they were investing stolen money in an illegal scheme, it would prove their intent. It would prove they weren't confused family members trying to help a declining father. They were criminals. The psychiatric evaluation is everything, Eugene said. Pass that, and you're competent. Conservatorship ends. Then the fraud charges can proceed, without Jennifer having legal cover. And if they get me into a nursing home permanently, under permanent conservatorship, then they win, Eugene said quietly. They drain your remaining assets, you die here, and no one ever knows the truth. It's what happened to most of us. Martha put her hand on mine. But you have something we didn't. Evidence, legal representation, and friends who are fighting with you. The next morning, they came for me at 8. Dr. Susan Chen, the court-appointed psychiatrist. 50s, professional manner, kind eyes. She interviewed me in the facility's meeting room, just the two of us. Mr. Carter, I've reviewed the case file. I'm here to conduct an independent evaluation. I want you to know, I have no preconceptions. I'm here to assess your mental competency objectively. She asked questions. Memory questions, reasoning questions, questions about my understanding of current events and my own circumstances. I answered calmly, clearly. Everything Eugene had coached me on. Mr. Carter, tell me about your relationship with your daughter. We were close until about 6 months ago. Then things changed. How so? She began treating me differently. Less like family, more like a burden. Financial irregularities appeared. I discovered forged loan documents. When I confronted her, she filed false allegations against me. Do you believe your daughter is trying to hurt you? I believe she's made choices that have hurt me financially. Whether her intent is malicious or simply selfish, I can't say. Dr. Bennett's evaluation suggests you have paranoid delusions about your daughter. Dr. Bennett's evaluation was biased. I have audio recordings showing he mischaracterized my statements. I've heard those recordings. They're concerning. But Mr. Carter, from a clinical perspective, can you see how someone might interpret your beliefs about your daughter as paranoid? An elaborate fraud scheme? Falsified evidence? A coordinated conspiracy? I understand how it sounds, but I also have evidence. Forged signatures, unauthorized credit card charges, my daughter's own text messages discussing the fraud, and a recording of my son-in-law confessing to the scheme. These aren't delusions, they're documented facts. Dr. Chen took notes, asked more questions. My medication list, my understanding of my medical needs, my plans for managing my care post-discharge. I need heart surgery, I said. Triple bypass. I have insurance that covers it. I have a cardiologist at St. Michael's, Dr. Sarah Patel, who's scheduled the procedure for 2 weeks from now. I understand the risks. I understand the recovery process. I'm prepared to manage it with outpatient support. What about daily living? Grocery shopping, meal preparation, medication management? I'll hire a home health aide with my remaining funds. There are services available. I've researched them. What if your daughter is genuinely trying to help you, and you're misinterpreting her actions? Then why has she refused to let me speak with my lawyer? Why has she put me in a substandard facility? Why did my son-in-law confess to using my insurance payout for a vacation? These aren't the actions of someone trying to help. Dr. Chen finished her evaluation 2 hours later. Thank you, Mr. Carter. I'll submit my report to the court within 48 hours. She left. I sat in that meeting room, exhausted, hoping I'd done enough. That afternoon, Paula called the facility. The staff, under pressure from Paula's threat of legal action, finally let me speak with her. Solomon, I've got the recording to the federal prosecutor. They're moving fast. They're going to arrest Derek Manning tomorrow. And they want to question Jennifer and Brad. When? After your evaluation results come in. If Dr. Chen clears you, the conservatorship ends. Then Jennifer and Brad lose their legal protection. The prosecutor can move forward. And if she doesn't clear me? Paula was silent for a moment. Then we keep fighting. But Solomon, I think you did well. I have a feeling about this. 2 days later, the results came. Paula called me with the news, her voice excited. Dr. Chen's report is in. She found you fully competent. No cognitive decline. No paranoid delusions. She explicitly stated that your allegations against your daughter deserve investigation, and that Dr. Bennett's evaluation was inappropriately biased. I closed my eyes, relief washing over me. The emergency hearing is tomorrow. Judge Thornton will review Dr. Chen's report and rule on dissolving the conservatorship. Will Jennifer be there? She'll be ordered to appear. Solomon, there's something else. Federal agents raided Derek Manning's office this morning. They arrested him and 2 associates. And they're asking to speak with Brad and Jennifer. Everything was coming together. That night, I couldn't sleep again. But this time, it was anticipation, not despair. Ralph came through the bathroom door around midnight. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "Tomorrow changes everything. For you. For me. I'll still be here. But Saul, if you get out, if you win this, promise me something." "What?" "Tell people about this place. About what happens here. About how conservatorship abuse works. Make some noise. Some of us don't have the strength left to fight. But you do." He promised. The hearing was at 9 in the morning. Paula arranged for a medical transport to take me from Whispering Pines to the courthouse. Ralph, Martha, and Eugene stood in the hallway as I left, giving me thumbs up and hopeful smiles. "Win this," Ralph said. "For all of us." The courtroom was packed. Word had gotten out that this was connected to the Derek Manning federal case. News reporters sat in the back rows. I saw Jennifer and Brad at their table with Marcus Webb, both looking nervous now instead of confident. 2 federal agents sat in the front row. Victoria Torres and Mike Wilson. Judge Thornton entered, and we all stood. "We're here for review of the temporary conservatorship granted 60 days ago," she began. "I have Dr. Susan Chen's independent psychiatric evaluation. I've read it carefully." She looked at Jennifer and Brad. Dr. Chen found Mr. Solomon Carter to be fully mentally competent. She found no evidence of cognitive decline, no paranoid delusions, and no reason to continue conservatorship. Furthermore, she raised serious concerns about the initial evaluation conducted by Dr. Lawrence Bennett, suggesting it was biased and unprofessional. Marcus stood. "Your Honor, we'd like to request a second opinion. One evaluation isn't sufficient when Mr. Webb, Dr. Chen's credentials are impeccable. Her evaluation was thorough and unbiased. I'm dissolving the conservatorship effective immediately." The gavel came down. I felt tears on my face. "Furthermore," Judge Thornton continued, "I'm ordering immediate restitution of all funds taken from Mr. Carter's accounts during the conservatorship period. Miss Morrison, you'll provide a full accounting within 7 days." "Your Honor," Marcus said. "My client spent those funds on her father's care. Then she'll provide receipts and proof of expenditure. If she can't, the funds will be repaid." Paula stood. "Your Honor, we have additional evidence that's come to light. We request permission to present it." Judge Thornton nodded. Paula played Brad's confession. The audio recording from Whispering Pines. His admission of debt, his confession about the insurance fraud, his mockery of me. The courtroom was silent, as Brad's voice filled the space. "Thanks for everything, Pops. You were a great investment." When it ended, Jennifer was crying, but these were different tears, not performance, fear. "Your Honor," Paula said, "we also have evidence of an online crowdfunding campaign where Miss Morrison raised over $14,000, claiming it was for her father's care. All of that money went into her personal account. None of it was used for Mr. Carter's benefit." She submitted the screenshots. The fake campaign. Jennifer's sympathetic story. The donations from strangers. Judge Thornton's face was grave. "Miss Morrison, Mr. Morrison, you'll remain for this hearing." Agent Torres stood. "Your Honor, if I may. I'm Special Agent Victoria Torres with the FBI. We're investigating a real estate fraud operation run by Derek Manning. Mr. Brad Morrison works for Manning. We have evidence that Mr. Morrison and Miss Morrison knowingly participated in defrauding Miss Morrison's father as part of a larger scheme to cover losses from Manning's illegal activities." She approached the bench, submitted documents, bank records, text messages between Jennifer and Brad discussing the fraud, emails with Derek Manning. The money trail, from the forged loan to Manning's company to offshore accounts. "We have evidence of wire fraud, identity theft, elder abuse, and conspiracy," Torres said. "We're prepared to arrest both Mr. and Miss Morrison today." Marcus tried to object, but it was over. Judge Thornton looked at Jennifer. "Miss Morrison, I granted you conservatorship, believing you were a concerned daughter trying to help your ailing father. Instead, you used that legal authority to continue defrauding him. You fabricated evidence, filed false reports, and exploited his health crisis for financial gain. This is one of the most egregious cases of elder abuse I've seen in my 23 years on the bench." Jennifer stood, shaking. "Your Honor, please. I'm pregnant. I made mistakes, but I'm going to be a mother. My baby needs..." "Your baby needs a mother who understands that actions have consequences. Your baby needs to grow up knowing that stealing from family, lying to courts, and exploiting vulnerable people is wrong." She turned to the agents. "Agents Torres and Wilson, You may proceed. Torres and Wilson stood, read Jennifer and Brad their rights, handcuffed them both. You're under arrest for wire fraud, identity theft, elder financial abuse, and conspiracy. You have the right to remain silent. Jennifer was sobbing now, looking at me. Daddy, please, I'm sorry. I made mistakes. Please don't let them do this. Think of your grandchild. I looked at her. This stranger who used to be my little girl. I am thinking of him, I said. I'm thinking that he deserves to grow up knowing right from wrong. That family means more than money. That you can't hurt people who love you and expect no consequences. Jenny, you did this to yourself. And you did it to that baby before he was even born. She screamed as they led her from the courtroom. Brad walked silently, his head down. The news cameras captured everything. Paula put her hand on my shoulder. You did it. I had. But I felt no triumph. Just sadness. A deep, aching sadness for what my daughter had become, for what she'd thrown away. Judge Thornton addressed me directly. Mr. Carter, I owe you an apology. This court failed you. I should have seen through Miss Morrison's deceptions earlier. I hope you can find it in yourself to move forward from this. I nodded, unable to speak. The hearing ended. Paula helped me out of the courthouse. News reporters called questions. I ignored them. But Agent Wilson caught up with us outside. Mr. Carter, we'll need you to testify before the grand jury. Your case is central to our investigation of Derek Manning's organization. With your testimony and the evidence you've gathered, we can shut down his operation permanently. I'll testify. Good man, he paused. For what it's worth, your daughter and son-in-law are looking at serious time. Jennifer will probably get probation because of the pregnancy and because she's a first-time offender. But Brad's deeply involved in Manning's scheme. He's looking at 5 years minimum, probably more. 3 months later, I stood on the porch of a small building I'd purchased with money recovered from Jennifer's fraudulent accounts. The house she and Brad had bought with my down payment had been seized and sold. The proceeds returned to me. Jennifer had been forced to liquidate assets, return the stolen funds. I'd gotten back most of what they'd taken. Not all. The $40,000 invested in Manning's scheme was gone forever, part of a bankruptcy proceeding that would take years to resolve. But I had enough. I'd used it to buy this building, a former boarding house on a quiet street, renovated it into 6 small apartments, called it Maple Grove Senior Cooperative. Ralph lived here now, and Martha, and Eugene, and 3 other seniors I'd met at Whispering Pines, all victims of conservatorship abuse, all abandoned by family, all needing a fresh start. We'd created a community. Everyone paid what they could. We looked after each other, shared meals, shared stories, became the family we'd lost. Paula had helped us set up legal protections, power of attorney documents with multiple safeguards, financial monitoring systems, regular check-ins with a social worker she'd connected us with. We'd started a support group, meeting weekly at the local community center. Other seniors coming to share their stories, to learn how to protect themselves, to find support. I'd testified before the grand jury. Jennifer and Brad had both pled guilty to avoid trial. Jennifer got 3 years probation, community service, and an order to pay full restitution. She'd serve it while pregnant, then after. Brad got 5 years in federal prison. Derek Manning got 15 years. The news coverage had been extensive. My story had made headlines. Elderly father fights back against daughter's fraud. It sparked conversations about conservatorship abuse, about elder exploitation, about the need for better legal protections. I'd been invited to speak at senior centers, to share my story, to teach a class I'd developed called Protecting Yourself from Family Fraud. I'd become an advocate, working with state legislators to reform conservatorship laws, to add oversight, to protect vulnerable seniors from predatory family members. My health had improved. The triple bypass surgery had been successful. I was on medication, following a strict diet, but I was alive, stronger than I'd been in months. I was sitting on the porch of Maple Grove that warm spring afternoon when Ralph brought me coffee. Martha was inside making dinner. Eugene was helping her, arguing good-naturedly about how much garlic to use. Mail came, Ralph said, handing me an envelope. It was from Jennifer, a letter from the halfway house, where she was serving her probation. I hadn't opened the others she'd sent. 3 letters over 3 months. But today, for some reason, I did. The handwriting was shaky, the words blotched where tears had fallen. Dad, I'm so sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I destroyed everything. Our relationship, your trust, my future, my son's future. Brad's parents are raising him while I serve my sentence. They won't let me see him more than once a month. They're angry. Everyone's angry. I'm angry at myself. I hit rock bottom. Therapy is helping me understand what I did, why I did it. The debt, the pressure, the entitlement I felt. None of it excuses what I did to you. I stole from you. I hurt you. I tried to destroy you. My therapist says I need to accept that you may never forgive me. That I need to focus on becoming a better person for my son, not for redemption from you. But Dad, I want you to know, I remember who you were, who you always were. A good father, a loving father. I threw that away. That's on me. If you're willing to talk someday, I'd like that, but I understand if you're not. I love you. I'm sorry, Jenny. I read it twice, folded it carefully, put it back in the envelope. You going to respond? Ralph asked. I don't know. Maybe, someday, but not today. That's fair. My phone rang. It was Danny, my brother. We'd been talking again, slowly rebuilding. He'd apologized, said he should have believed me. Said he was flying up next month to visit, to meet the people at Maple Grove, to see what I'd built. Family. Real family. Not the one I'd been born into, but the one I'd created from pain and survival and shared understanding. As the sun set that evening, I sat on the porch with my found family. Ralph, Martha, Eugene. We talked about the day, about our plans, about the new resident moving in next week. A woman named Dorothy, whose nephew had tried to do to her what Jennifer had done to me. But Dorothy had found our support group, gotten legal help in time, fought back. She was 73, recently widowed, scared, but determined. She'll fit right in, Martha said. Another survivor. That's what we were. Survivors. I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the fight, the victory. And I realized something. I'd spent my whole life building something to leave behind for my daughter. A legacy, money, security, love. But I'd learned the hardest way that what you give someone doesn't guarantee what they'll become. Jennifer thought she was entitled to everything I had, simply because she was my child. She forgot that respect, love, and family are things you earn and nurture, not things you inherit or take by force. When everything was stripped away from me, when I had nothing left but determination, I discovered something I hadn't expected. Real family isn't about blood. It's about who stands with you when you have nothing, who fights for you when you can't fight for yourself. Ralph, Martha, Eugene, these beautiful souls I met in the darkest place of my life, they became the family I needed. I don't hate Jennifer. I pity her. She traded a father's unconditional love for $15,000 and a pile of guilt she'll carry forever. She's raising a son who barely knows his grandfather because of choices she made out of greed and selfishness. But me? I'm richer now than I ever was. Not in money, though I recovered most of that. I'm rich in purpose. Every senior we help at Maple Grove, every person who hears my story and learns to protect themselves, that's my real legacy now. If anyone listening is struggling with family betrayal, financial abuse, or the pain of being cast aside, please hear me. You are not a burden. You are not worthless. You are not alone. There are people who will stand with you, fight for you, believe in you. Sometimes they're not the people you expected. Sometimes they're strangers who become your truest family. And if someone is thinking about taking advantage of an elderly parent or relative, understand this. That person gave you life, gave you opportunities, gave you love. What you steal from them isn't just money. It's their dignity, their security, their final years of peace. You can't ever give that back. The guilt will follow you. Your children will learn from your example. Is that really the legacy you want? I'm 67 years old. I survived betrayal, a heart attack, a fraudulent conservatorship, and the loss of my only child. And I'm here to tell you, there's always a way forward. Always hope. Always justice. Even when it takes time to arrive. Don't give up. Don't let them win. Fight for yourself. Because you matter. Your life matters. Your dignity matters. And someday, when you're sitting on a porch with people who truly love you, drinking coffee and watching the sunset, you'll understand that the worst thing that ever happened to you led you to the best thing you never knew you needed. That's what I learned. That's what I want to share. That's my story. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever experienced betrayal from someone you loved? How did you find the strength to move forward? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might help someone else who's struggling right now. If this story touched you, please hit that like button. It helps others find these stories. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future stories about real people overcoming real challenges. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who's struggling with family issues, who feels alone, who needs to know they can fight back and win. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for caring about these stories, about these lives, about the message that we're stronger than we think we are. I wish you peace, strength, and the courage to stand up for yourself when no one else will. Take care of each other out there. And remember, you're never too old, too weak, or too alone to fight for what's right. Until next time.